Hi guys, welcome back. Today we will be making a gin wine. Gin wine is something we've done on the channel already, but we have not done the first steps in front of the camera. And of course, I already drank the gin wine we had, so here we are making some more, and this time recording all the steps from the scratch. You can see I have quite a lot of things on the table, so let me just go through exactly what we'll be using for the fermentation and all the steps one by one. All right, so first of all, let me explain what do we have right here. As you can see, we have all necessary tubes like hydrometer. We have our funnel. We have all the tools of course, our fermenter with some water inside. I will explain in a second. But the most important, of course, we have our yeast, EC1118. We have our DAP in here as well. We have our sugar, which is the cheapest we could find as always. Because the gin wine, of course, we want to taste it sort of like a gin. It's kind of herby and nice. We'll be using through a few different components. Instead of normal water, we use cucumber water. So I'm not sure if you can see in here, we actually had quite a lot of cucumbers. I think we had 3 big cucumbers cut up in the small pieces and put in water overnight. In here, I already filled the rest of the cucumber water because it was too many containers on the table. It didn't really fit, so I filled already a little bit, and there is still some left in here. You can see. So instead of water, again, we'll be using 4 liters of cucumber water, and on top of it, we'll be using sugar. The exact amount of sugar we'll be using for this fermentation, I already wrote down in my notes, is 260 grams of sugar for 1 liter, which means we'll use 1040 grams of sugar total. Now, the reason for it, I will explain later, is because we are aiming for a specific gravity, and we'll talk about gravity in the later steps. And of course, what we want to use is juniper berries. In German, it's a Wacholderbeeren, which is basically we'll use, I think, 50 grams of them. And the reason for it is this is the exact amount we used last time, and it tasted amazing. As you may know, the gin is primarily made from juniper berries, and of course, we do have to use them when we want to make wine that tastes similar to a gin. And so this is what we will be using. And of course, the first step is for us to fill the fermenter with the cucumber water, which is done halfway on purpose, so you can put the sugar and mix it in very well together. Because as you know, if you fill the fermenter all the way up, then you don't have a space for sugar. Sugar takes up some space; it has to dissolve. So don't fill it all the way up with the water. Fill a little bit, put the amount of sugar you need, and then dissolve. And you can always put more water afterwards. All right, so as I mentioned, we're aiming for 260 grams of sugar for this fermentation per liter. I have my scale right here. It's very helpful, so we can exactly get the amount of sugar we need. Now, in this case, I really don't have to worry about counting 1040 grams because this is pack of 1000 grams, 1 kilo. So I will just put it in, and then I will count the rest 40 grams. Okay. Right, we have our funnel, and let's put it in. Now, one component I actually forgot because I don't have it here is that we also add the tea. So tea, very important. Maybe my partner can bring it out. Yes, we made a rose tea. It's the tea that we're using for this specific gin wine, just to bring in some tannins. Of course, we will not put the rose petals inside. We will actually sift them. We have our sift ready here as well in our sanitization bucket, right? Very important. And so this now are definitely all the ingredients. All right, 1 kilo in, 40 grams to go. 40 grams, normally I think I would eyeball it, but I have a scale already out, so might as well, get exactly 40 grams. One thing is that it's a bit wet from the cucumber water, so the sugar will stick, but again, it's not a problem because I will use it in a minute to fill even more. Oh, that's already 50 grams. Well, it's fine. It's not a problem. A little bit more. It went faster than I expected, but that's okay. Finally goes into sanitization water, and I need a bun. Alright, now that we have a stopper on, all we have to do is shake it. As you can see, there is sugar at the bottom. We have to dissolve it. So let's make sure we do it. And actually, I will let my husband do it, because I will just continue the next steps. There you go, babe. You can enjoy shaking it. Be careful. Always when shaking glass fermenters, please be careful. It's very dangerous. If you drop it, you can really hurt yourself. So first and foremost, please be safe. And if you're not confident, holding the fermenter, because they can be quite big, just put it on the desk, put it on the table, and just mix it slowly. It will get dissolved eventually. All right, let me put this away here. So now, as I mentioned, the next steps, as we are dissolving our sugar water, what we want to do, we want to actually crush our berries, right? So those juniper berries are actually, dry juniper berries, right? It's not like a berry you can find in the shop and eat. So what I will do, I have my pestle and mortar sanitized as well, and we will squeeze them and crush them and make it into even smaller pieces, some kind of smaller paste maybe even, although it's not really going to be a paste. And the reason for it is, again, because we want to make sure the flavor is extracted as much as possible. We did it also last time and it worked like a charm. We don't have a food processor. Pestle and mortar is working great and we love it. We use it quite a lot for various things, and this time we will use it as well. As I mentioned, we will be using 50 grams. There is 30 grams, and in here we have 20. So altogether is 50. There we go. That's quite a few berries, and now what we do is just we're going to crush them nicely. We'll probably skip this step because it will take quite a while. Right, so actually, as my husband they took care of the water, dissolved the sugar. Now I take the sugar and he will continue pestle and mortar the berries. Very, very big help on the back, on behind the scenes. But yeah, that's always much better when you have 4 hands and not only 2. Nevertheless, as you can see, this is now basically cucumber water with a sugar dissolved. Right, there is still some space. We have quite a lot of water still left. We did a bit more just in case. We were not sure how much sugar we're gonna go and add. So, what we will do, we will just put the rest of the cucumber water to fill in the fermenter. Well, now while pouring, now making, you have to make sure there is some space, right? I don't want to overdo it, and we still have the tea to pour in, so this is already, I think, more than enough. I would normally leave in more space, but I'm greedy. I really want my wine. I really enjoyed it last time. I want as much as possible. So yeah. Anyways, now that we have our sugar dissolved, our cucumber water inside, what we still have to pour is our rose tea. Wow, it smells actually very nice. It's a lot of rose petals in here, and it's been sitting, it's a bit lukewarm now, so it's a perfect time to pour it in. Of course, through the sift, we don't want all of those petals going inside. Whoa, spilling a little bit. All right, it's fine. Whoa. Okay, perfect. Right, so now we have a little bit more space, as you can see. A few things off the table. More than enough cucumber water, and so we don't need it anymore on the display. And as you can see right here, I just poured in our tea. It's just a layer on top here. It looks a bit weird, but it's just the way it looks. We'll just mix it in slightly. There you go. Now, a lot of people believe that oxidation is not good for the brew, and that's true. It's not good to oxidize your brew when it starts fermenting and in the later stages, but at the beginning, when we eat yeast in a minute, you want the oxygen to be present because you want the yeast to really build up a healthy colony, right? When you put 5 grams of yeast, there is X amount of it's 5 grams of yeast, and there is limited colony, and they want to multiply, and they want to make even more of themselves, sort of say, and more of the yeast and a healthy colony, and to be able to do it, they really need oxygen. So, mixing things up, adding some oxygen to the brew right now before the fermentation starts, it's actually not a bad idea. Now, when you look at the color, it's changed up a little bit, mostly because of the tea. Because of the tea, which actually, it's quite a nice color. We'll see how it changes over time. I'm sure it will. Yeah, what we have right now is not yet a wine because we still didn't add yeast. At this point, we will add our berries in a minute. But first, before we add the berries, what we will do a hydrometer reading. Now, hydrometer reading is something that you always should do, and that's something that we always have to understand what is the starting gravity, right? Especially in the case like this, when we add a lot of tea, we add our berries, the wines tend to stack, and we want to make sure that if that happens, we know why, how we can help it, or maybe it's okay if it's stuck, but then we need to be able to understand it so we can actually pasteurize our wine, right? Imagine that the wine stacks, like for example, 20 gravity points above where it should go all the way down. If you bottle it, the bottles can explode. It's a serious business. It's really, really dangerous. And so taking gravity, having the hydrometer is really crucial. Hydrometer costs what, €5, €10, maybe on Amazon somewhere. Really, if you don't have one, I recommend to invest in one. It's such a basic tool, it lasts you a lifetime. You will buy one and you keep one forever. Okay? But now let's see what is the gravity. So as you guys know, we added 260 grams of sugar per 1 liter. And our gravity, it's a bit shaky in here. 1.086. And so what I was aiming for is 1.100. But what I didn't take into consideration that I actually put a little bit more than 4 liters of water. And so the more you pull, the more diluted it will be, right? So with gravity 1.086, it's close enough to my desired 100. Hopefully, the fermentation will go all the way down. It will be more than enough alcohol percentages to enjoy it. But even if it gets stuck, it still should be considerably high for the wines, right? Of course, we will see how the fermentation goes. What I could do, there is space. I could just put more sugars in, but I really don't care as much. If I will have 13% alcohol wine or 12% alcohol wine, I'm a home brewer. It really doesn't matter to me as much. If it matters to you, then of course, feel free in your own, at your house or wherever you are when you're doing your wines, add more sugars and make sure that you actually hit the gravity you were aiming for. But again, for us, I'm more considered about the taste and how the wine will turn out than worrying about 1 or 2% of alcohol one way or another. Okay? But yeah, what we have right now, we have our pestled malted berries. They look very crushed, which is definitely good and what we want. So what we will do now, we will put the berries in. We'll put them through the funnel simply because it's quite a few of them. Maybe I will just use my hands because that's really... Oh, they are getting stuck on the funnel. I think we will need something here. Like maybe a chopstick. There we go. Now it goes through. Perfect. We have our berries in, but we are not finished yet. Let me actually just mix it in a little bit. Just give it a swirl. There you go. A lot of berries. We love to see it. It's gonna be very nice taste. But anyways, now what we want to do, we want to put the yeast in. And yeast going through this top here, it's rather difficult to do it. So what we will do a starter, very short one, right? I need a small container. We will put our cucumber water in there, and this way it will be much easier to pour the yeast in the container through the funnel than just playing around and the yeast sticking everywhere around. It's really not ideal. Okay, so here we have container. We sanitize it. We pour little bit of our juice, cucumber water mix, and then we put our yeast into the container. How much yeast? 5 grams. I can imagine most of you won't have these big packages, they last for a long time. You can make a lot of wines from them. Most of you probably will use a normal 5-gram packet, you can buy them anywhere on Amazon or your local shops if you have specialized shops in the area, but they're usually 5 grams, and this, 5 grams for 1 liter or gallon, whatever you base, is definitely more than enough. All right, so I have a yeast mixed in here, and what we will do now, we will give our nutrients. We will add our Fermax yeast nutrient, not sponsored, but yeah, it works like a charm. It really helps speed up fermentation process, although speeding up is not really the biggest issue for me. The biggest is that we want to make sure it has right nutrients inside. We want to make sure that the fermentation will go nicely, and we want to make sure that it ferments through as much as possible. In my with my experience with this wine, it will probably stuck, and somewhere above. But again, we will see. I may be surprised. Maybe we'll go all the way down. Maybe Fermax will help it immensely. We will see, and of course, we'll keep you updated. But for now, let's add a little bit of Fermax, and we mix it in. All right, so this is the formula. It looks disgusting, but we don't drink it. We put it into wine. The yeast will drink it and eat it and reproduce, right? So this is actually yeast and tap together, and we just put it in. Boom. There is a little bit of left, but that's why I left some in here. Cucumber water. Swirl, swirl, swirl. And it goes in. Still some left, but that's why I have a little bit more. Swirl, swirl, swirl. There we go. More than enough inside. We put it aside. And that's it. We have our wine. Of course, not drinkable, not yet. I guess you could drink it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Of course, we want it to ferment first. So, fermentation process, very straightforward. We leave it and don't touch it. All we're going to do is put our bubbler on top, so it bubbles. So it produces some alcohol. I mean, the bubbler doesn't produce alcohol, the bubbler just releases the air. And the reason you want it is because you don't want anything going into your brew, you don't want oxygen going into your brew later, you don't want any bugs going into your brew, but you want the air to escape. Because otherwise, if this was just a hard top without the bubbler, without anything, it would build up so much pressure that the fermenter would literally explode. And you don't want that happening because of the mess and because of it's really, really dangerous. And so I will just give it one last swirl just because I can and just because it looks cool. And we'll leave it. How long? I don't know. It can be 5 days, it can be 5 weeks, really can't say. At this point, what we will do, we will leave it aside, we'll monitor it, we'll probably take a gravity reading in 2-3 weeks to see where it is, and we will of course keep you updated with the next stage and with the next video. Apart from what we discussed today, I think the math behind is very straightforward. I don't think we need a specific section for the math. As I told you guys already, amount of sugar we added and the gravity we have, what we are aiming for. If you have any questions around that, please do ask in the comment section, or leave some likes maybe, share the video, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Otherwise, really thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.